I tell you,
There.
there we go.
What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to DeckTalk Podcast, and boy, do we have a show for you. Guys, if you don't know, I am Colin Burnett.
And I am Norman Lee. You know what? Today's episode is brought to you by Proline Baits. Family owned and operated, they strive to produce the highest quality scents using the finest quality ingredients to guarantee anglers to catch more fish, whether you're in a boat or fishing from the bank. Now you can match the hatch, but you also can match the scent. Covering a wide range of species, Proline Baits produces the highest quality attractants using all natural extracts designed with the most advanced technology and scent capabilities, not only releasing a full and robust scent, but delivering an unmatched taste to any fish. Proline Baits, a new generation of attractants for the avid fisherman to help you catch more fish. See what the stink is about. Go to www.prolinebaits.com. Don't forget, make sure to use that discount code DeckTalk10. Again, that's prolinebaits.com. And don't forget, at checkout, use that discount code DeckTalk10. Whew. All right, what's going on, guys? Well, you know what? We have a great show, don't we, tonight, Colin?
Man, great show. It's going to
Yes.
be very informative
Yep,
and stuff.
man.
So I'm ready for it, brother.
I'm ready to rock and roll, man. I've been looking forward to this episode since we lined this dude up. But anyway, we have a killer guest tonight. No other than the owner, the operator, president of Proline Baits, Mr. Keith Kisney. How you doing, man? What's going
That's
on?
all right, fellas.
Boy,
It's
Great, great. Good
it's
to be here.
oh
it's
man, we're tickled pink to have you, man. Really tickled pink. But that last name, and I
Oh, look,
apologize, and
it's real. Look, if you can say Disney, you can say Cisney.
Cisney. There you know.
Yep.
Over the last few days, me and Colin's done a couple of commercials and ads on social media for, and I think every one of them I really botched the name, so I apologize, but I will get that name right before long.
yeah.
No big deal.
But anyway, man, we are so tickled to have you. But we have a great show lined up, man, tonight. But you know what? We're going to dive right into this. We're kind of going to go back in time, man. Keith, what is your earliest memory of fishing? I know everybody has memories back in the day growing up as a child. What's your earliest memory of hitting the pond or hitting the lake, man?
Of course, first, I wanna thank the good Lord above for the opportunity. Uh, without Him, I mean, Proline Bates wouldn't be who we are today. I really appreciate, the open doors, the support group, my family. My family's been supporting my dream for years and years, and so I got to give credit where credit's due, and just thankful. We're blessed beyond measures. But yeah, Norman, to answer your question, I was probably the first real distinct memory that I have is where I grew up as a young kid. We lived in an old farmhouse up on the hill, and about 200 yards from the farmhouse, there was a creek that run down through the pasture, and of course they would stock it in April with trout, and of course there was suckers in there as well, and I can remember as a kid uh, that those are my first vivid members, and of course I grew up poor. I mean, my family We grew up poor. Uh, now, we eat lots of deer meat and rabbits and squirrels. And I mean, we had our own garden and all that there stuff growing up. And, but my mama would buy me a block of Velveeta cheese is what she would buy. That's just what she could afford. And that had to last me all year during trout season. And that's what I remember trout fishing with. I couldn't tell you how many times I went to the creek with a stick and a piece of string tied to it, because my fishing pole was tore up, and my mama couldn't afford, to buy me a new one.
Right.
And but yeah, I mean, just that's probably my most vivid memory of when I first got into fishing, and it was trout fishing.
Now,
That's
was your mom and dad into fishing? Did your dad or mom like fishing?
No, now my mama, of course, got into fishing later on, uh, but no, my parents weren't big into fishing. Now hunting, yes, I mean deer hunting, squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, and and I was attracted to the hunting scene as well. But there was just something about fishing that just I mean, I can't even describe that feeling as a kid.
You got bit.
And then
Is
I
what
can
it was.
remember
You
what's
got
that
bit
again,
by the
Colin?
bug.
Yeah. And then I can remember growing up through my teen years is, I couldn't wait, for March and April and May, because trout season was going to open up. And I'm telling you, that's where I spent my days is in the rivers, creeks, trout fishing, as a kid.
So
Yeah.
where are you? For people that don't know, where are you located?
So now we're located in Spartanburg, South Carolina. That's where home base is. So we have a 3,000 square foot warehouse in Spartanburg. That's where all the bulk ingredients get shipped, all the bulk bottles,
I wasn't too
lids.
far from you here this morning.
Yeah,
I was in Powdersville.
yeah, actually, that's probably 40 minutes,
Yeah.
And, but now what I've done is I built a small manufacturing facility. We have a 4-acre private lake in our front yard, at our house. And, of course, it's stocked with bass and carp and brim and crappie. And, it's kind of our test pond. But I decided to build my manufacturing facility here. Then that way I wasn't away from, plus me and my wife, we raised 3 of our grandchildren, so, the twin boys, they're 10 and our granddaughter is 15. And, so it just made sense that way that I could be here, to get them on the bus, get them off the bus. My wife worked at BMW. She worked night shift. Uh, but luckily, blessed, my wife was able to retire from BMW about 3 weeks ago.
Wow, that's
I
awesome.
seen
Yeah,
that when they
yeah,
had like a little party deal for, um, and a little get together or whatever about
yes,
her retiring. And so,
yes. And I
congratulations
mean,
for that.
yeah. And, but it's just, that's where Proline Baits has come to, we're to that place where, we've grown over the last couple years that Proline needs a lot more of attention now. I can't do it all by myself,
Yeah.
Uh, the amount of book work and paperwork now that is involved, and that I just, and of course, my wife used to help when she done the BMW. She still helped with it, but it was just so overwhelming. And of course, we got great pro staff guys that live local, and they come in and help me on days that I'm just absolute covered up and need an extra hand. But we're actually getting to the place to where we're looking at probably hiring some full-time positions
That is awesome.
probably by next, later this year, early, 2024, uh, to start the season off is, we plan on doing a lot of traveling this year as well, to, trade shows. Uh, so yeah, we need to make sure that things are being done here.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
how we actually ran into you first, was
Yes.
at a trade show or the East
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Uh,
East Tennessee show, I remember is when I first met Norman.
Yeah.
yeah.
They had a small booth kind of catty corner from us. And yeah, that was our first launch. I mean, that was our first trade show, and absolute was blown away by the response that we got from from all the fishermen, and made a lot of new friends. Actually, I met Norman and Colin. I think we met at Bassmasters, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
There was a class, the classic, wasn't it? That you met
it
Colin.
might have been, but I thought I know I talked to you at
You might have been there.
the expo,
Yeah.
but
Sorry about that,
uh,
fellas.
there what?
I said I was getting a phone call. I'm sorry about
Oh, you're
that.
good. You're good.
But
Yeah, I know what we talked at the classic, and I think that's the first time that you kind of associated me with Norman and Norman and I together and stuff like that. But I talked to you at the East Tennessee Expo. So prior to, um, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Yep.
And um, and so at that time, I just had my YouTube channel going, and
Yeah.
then and Norman and I were just now starting to kind of work together and collab
Right.
on that, and then we just kind of grew into everything that we got now. We got, Lord knows, everything in the world we're trying
Yeah.
to
we
get
Well, I
going.
think
But
I think
irons in
I
the fire.
think too. Then y'all done a benefit for a gentleman,
Yes.
and we
there's
sponsored some
50
product,
legs.
to
Yeah,
help.
I actually got the 50 leg shirt on.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
but yeah, and that's we actually, not to kind of get off subject, but we do have guys. We're going to be doing. We're not doing a tournament this year, but we will be doing a raffle
Yeah.
for 50 legs,
Yeah.
and we'll give more details on that because this is not. I don't really want to get in too deep on that, but
Yeah. And
uh,
that's coming up, but
yeah.
keep us on that. But I want to go into kind of a little bit of a funny story, Matt. When, like Keith was saying, when I first met Keith and got introduced to the product was um, three or so years ago at the Southeast Tennessee show. I was actually working one of my sponsors' booth that was actually directly across from Proline Baits, and they were actually letting attendees at the show. Think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but you had a couple bags with baits in it, and they had the
Yes.
scent sprayed in, and
Yes.
you'd open the Ziploc bag and let the customers kind of see the scent. And I mean, it was for myself and the sponsor I was working for right across. It was kind of a comic moment because we were actually waiting for you to open the bag because it was such intense smell that the baits put off when you opened the bag that the attendees of the event was actually backing up. But what was funny is that we could kind of tell when you were letting the customer sniff, and it kind of became a steady smell uh, coming across our booth, and we'd watch couples walking down the aisle that kind of between our booth and you and your booth, and when they were walking, another couple going the other direction, they'd like look at them like, was that them or was that you?
Yeah.
Because it was a constant. But you can imagine now if that's happening right there 24/7, just from opening the Ziploc bags, translating across, what is that scent going to do when you get it below the surface? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it is such an impressive product, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of an example of how that scent works. I've never seen a scent like that just stayed and lingered without dispersing itself after a minute or 2 minutes. So that's what kind of impressed me about it. You're saying you were kind of impressed about how the company took off at that show. Well, that's what impressed me was just being able to see, what that bait was and how it worked and how good it was. I mean, just using that as kind of an example of it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And I will say this: uh, Norman had them sit. He had 4 bottles and had them sitting in his cup holder, which they were all 4 different scents and stuff like that, guys. And it's just a little, and there was a spray bottle.
yeah,
And so we were testing out, trying to see, all right, does it really affect the bite and stuff like that? So he was using without, I was using, or he was using with, I was using without, and so we just kind of just between each other, just kind of seeing what's going on, and it did make a difference
it made a
on
difference.
having it, and which
Oh,
and
the
we still
vibration.
kind of will do. We done it like with he would only use like 1 cent for each little bait that he done, and so we did see throughout all the scents that he was catching a little bit more fish than what I was uh, comparable without using the scent. And I will let you know if you don't put that cap on going 70 mile an hour down the river, the cap will come off and nail your co-pilot or your partner in the face with it. So
And it
trust me, I
hurts
know
when it
that
hits you, according to what you said anyway. But
one. So
yeah, but the other thing too about Proline, Keith, is you have you have different species. You kind of target different species, but you're matching. You're kind of, and correct me if I hope I'm saying this right. You're matching the scent to matching the hatch.
Yes.
Now
And
that's
so
go.
let me kind of dive in here a little bit is, and look, I'm not saying nothing wrong with, Bang makes a great product, Procure makes a great product, Smelly Jelly makes it, Berkeley. I mean, they all have the reasons that they do what they do. One thing for me when it comes to scent is I could have imitated what the competitor was doing very easily. My thing is then we'd have just been another scent company,
right,
and I wanted to be different. And one of the reasons that we're different is, and like I said, my background comes, one, trout fishing as a kid, two, then growing up, and then, of course, got into carp fishing. And carp don't bite by reaction, is carp bottom feeders. So you got to create scent that are going to get them carp to put their heads down and want to feed on your bait. And so in doing that, what I learned in the carp industry over the last 30 years, then it started making my wheels spin. And this has been years and years and years ago. And because it worked for catfish. Sometimes we would catch a brim or a largemouth bass, and we're fishing fruity flavors, then. And then I started getting into the, the monster crabs and, the real stinky, the liver, the liver scent. And then what I seen is, of course, let me back up a second. Of course, our carp stuff is all natural oils, all natural ingredients, all extracts. We use nothing artificial.
yeah,
You know, that's what sets Proline baits separate from our competitors. They use a lot of either pure oil or they use artificial man made flavors, and we do all natural extracts. And like I said, it all started in the carp, and then I started applying it into the bass. we started immediately testing. And look, I mean, we put a lot of time, a lot of development, a lot of research into creating, the right bass scent, uh, because you can smell a crayfish that is an all natural extract crayfish and smell an artificial crayfish, two complete different smells.
Yeah.
But if you want a true crayfish, what crayfish is supposed to smell like, Proline Baits has done that. We matched a hatch.
Yeah.
Our night crawler, number one seller in the U.S. I mean, we sell thousands and thousands of bottles of the night crawler. But again, we took it, we take it from the night crawlers and literally designed and created that product. And I mean, just it speaks for itself,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, see,
Uh,
I've noticed like if you go like let's say you're throwing like a plastic worm like a Cinco or something like that, and putting that night crawler on there, that night crawler scent, or even like you've got like a shad scent and throwing it on a swim, put it on a swim bait. That right there is the money when you can be able to match the smell to the bait. It makes a big difference because there's nothing else around that to allows you to match. I mean, everybody that's on YouTube or added doc or whatever that's talking, they'll say match the hatch, match the hatch. Well, now
yes,
you have allowed everybody to match the hatch better to make that to where all right, I see a swim bait and it smells like a shad, it must be a shad.
yeah,
And that's
And you,
where Norman and I have seen the big differences when we've been able to match them like that. Is
yeah,
where we're seeing the big difference on it as
well,
well.
my thought and research, whenever I was doing this was, to create a scent that, because I knew the bass fishing industry and the crappie industry and the trout industry, a lot of products that are used now are artificial baits. I mean, guys aren't out there throwing crayfish. They're not catching crayfish baiting, using a hook, throwing them out catching bass.
Yeah,
But is that one of a largemouth bass food source? Absolutely. Uh, so that being said, uh, I wanted to design, the crayfish where it tasted like a crayfish so that you could apply it to any bait,
yeah,
whether it's a worm or a crayfish or a frog or whatever.
yeah,
And when you put that bait in the water, and whether that bass bites it the first time, third time, fourth, fifth time, as you drag that bait through the water, you're literally leaving the scent. It's leaving uh, the taste,
yeah,
the application. And when that bass comes through that trail, whether he swims through it or he's following that bait, it's sending those triggers to his brain
yeah.
that, this is real.
yeah.
I've eat that before.
Exactly. And that's
And
what
You know,
we've seen is to where, uh, which we haven't done it to where like we're like thrown the crayfish or scent on a frog or something like that. We've kind of tried to match the hatch with
yeah,
it, so we'd throw it on a crawl or something like that. But we have seen that the benefits from it for being able to do because and you explained it very well when you said it's leaving that trail, that scent trail
yeah,
through the water, and they're like that's real because I know here on Chickamauga, I mean Chickamauga gets pounded, and which with being right there, not too far from Hartwell, that it gets pounded.
yes,
So any kind of advantage that you can get to make that fish think that that bait is legit, then the better off you are.
yeah.
Because I mean, these bass on Chickamauga, people think they got the new bait that just came out. That bait, Chickamauga, them fish have seen them new baits.
yes.
And when the
Well,
fish are feeding on a certain type of hatch or feeding on a certain type of bait fish, whether it be shad or herring or whatever the fish are feeding on, they actually have that taste in their mouth. So and it kind of goes to a point that you're talking about, Keith, where you know, even if you're trying to, if you're throwing a frog, for instance, on top, but they're actually feeding on shad, but you're trying to get that early morning topwater reaction bite on a frog, well, leaving that trail that they actually
Yeah.
have taste already in their mouth because that's what they're feeding on, well, it's
Yeah.
going to give them a scent of what they're eating to that frog to help trigger that bite. Not only that, but if you're throwing soft plastics or a little bit more of a finessey type of a bait like a worm or something like that, when you give them that taste to what they're feeding on, it also makes them hang on to the bait a lot longer, gives you a better
Yeah.
reaction time to set up. Other if it doesn't have the taste of what they're feeding on, it might seem a little bit unnatural to them, and they'll spit it a lot quicker, not quite giving you the reaction time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and we've heard that testimony from so many fishermen that how fishing the scent that the bait is so much deeper in the largemouth
Yeah.
basses, uh,
That was
or
gonna
it
be a
just
question.
gives them that split second extra, to set the hook.
Yeah.
Uh, we've just heard testimony after testimony, so yes, I mean, the product does work, uh, and like I said, we wanted to be different. And the other cool thing that I think Proline Baits has done is we test it on a lot of different, the Elastec, the Zoom baits, young. We've tested Proline Baits on about probably every soft plastic manufacturer out there. I mean,
So how does
and
it hold up to the Elastec? Because I know a
so
lot of them will eat it up.
so
So
as far as I know, we are the only company in the United States where we literally, you can apply any Proline bait scent to Z-Man, Nikon baits, Guggen baits, any Elastec baits, and Proline baits will not break the baits down. It
that
literally will infuse the same way that we do everybody else. I
yeah.
mean, so and that's what I mean is and again, it all come from the carp industry, learning, how a carp wanted to feed and what they wanted to feed on in a different scent. And look, it's easy to extract banana, strawberry, cherry, that's easy. But when you get into, really doing the crayfish, the night crawler, the herring, I mean, the frog, I mean, we are the only one, as far as I know, that actually has come out with a frog scent,
The only one
you
I know.
know.
Yep.
I was gonna say I haven't seen that. We do have a couple questions though. Michael Lindell says, shout out from Florida, Everglades. He says, spray the big nasty down with the Proline baits, hammer down. But he also has a question that says, in South Florida, we use a lot of crawfish, garlic, or shiner bang spray. Not only do I spray my big worms, but I mix the scents at home and made worm worms. What separates your products from the old school scents?
I'll go before Keith kind of dives into that. I will say one thing to kind of lead into, I guess, kind of what I think Keith's going to kind of dive into. What I've been doing since I've been using Proline is I'm actually starting to leave my soft plastics in the original Ziploc bags that they come in the store, almost similar to the way you were doing it at the booth at the Knoxville
Yes.
show when I first met you. And it doesn't take a lot. It goes a long way. I'll just take 2 squirts, no more than that. That's all you need for 1 bag. Ziploc it up, and I'll shake it around. Just get it nice and shake around so it basically distributes it throughout all the baits in the bag, and I'll just leave it in there. And what I've noticed is when I go into that bag and use them, that scent stays with that bait. Now I don't know when it's in the bag if it's kind of help absorbing into it, but and here's the thing, I've also used to do that technique before I actually started using a Proline with the other companies, and I'm not going to name any specifics, but I done the same procedure. But the thing I've noticed with doing it with the other companies and now that I'm using the Proline is the Proline, I could actually fish that bait for 10, 15, 20 minutes and I could actually physically still smell it off of the bait after using it, after being dipped into water for 50, 60 casts. Where the other companies, even if you douse the bags with them, let them soak, you'll get maybe 5, 6 casts and you have to respray the bait because it just loses what it has. But now the Proline bait I found does not do that. It sticks with it. And you could go into it more, Keith, about why it does it that way. But I don't know if it kind of absorbs where the others don't. But I mean, it's just impressive.
Well, you know if you go old school, I mean, a lot of the stuff back in the olden days, and I don't know how far back this gentleman wants to go, scent probably over the last 10 years, especially in the bass, crappie, and look, and I mean, it's really not huge in the crappie industry at the moment, except for, we're tapping into that market and are doing quite well, but anyway, to get back to this gentleman's question, I think a lot of your old school guys back in the day probably used a lot of just regular garlic powders. They used oils. There might have been some home remedy stuff, where they might have been using some vegetable oils. And, the reason that I don't like a lot of oil is when your bait hits the water, it's going to separate and the oil is going to stay on the top, unless you have it to where it's literally going to stick to the bait, you know, uh, and where it's got some type of grooves to where you could do like the Vaseline type deal, and yes, it might would stay there, but for us again, it all goes back to the carp fishing where we would take corn, we'll scent corn. We make rolled baits, for the carp industry. Got a couple bags of them last year, and these here are what we call boilies. And we fish these here on a hair rig, and extremely scented, all natural, made with real eggs. You know, and again, it's just finding the right recipes, the right ingredients, the right amino acids and fatty acids and omega acids, and just there's so much research that goes into it, uh, to really be successful to make really good scent. And like I said, that all for me started in the carp industry, but now we've taken it over into the bass industry. And I guess for me is, when you have professional anglers, that, and I'm going to use David, for instance, David actually reached out to me, David Dudley. He had stopped in North Carolina and picked up a couple bottles of our scent and was on Lake Wiley fishing a tournament. And just out of the blue, I get an instant messenger on Facebook, hey, Proline Baits, this is David Dudley. I've heard of David, really didn't know a whole lot about him. I mean, other than he was a professional angler. And once I really realized who I was talking to, and he says, hey man, he said, could me and you get together over lunch and or supper? And I said, yeah, sure. And he said, well, what are you doing this evening? And I'm like, oh, this quick. And so we met up in Rock Hill and went out for supper. And, and David's like, Keith, he said, he said, look, I've fished scent for as long as I can remember, ever since scent become a part in the basket. And he said, I've never smelled anything like this ever, and, and again, let's go back to the Norman, like you were saying, and it's what really impressed David is when you spray 2 or 3 squirts in a bag and it literally infuses into the bait. What I encourage anybody and everybody that's listening or setting whatever today, that bait that you go and you fish for 20 or 30 minutes, take that bait off, stick it in your pocket, take it home, lay it on your garage, throw it in your glove box, and go back a week or 2 weeks later and smell it.
Yeah.
It still will smell like.
Well, we went out, and we got Jamie Jones says, how long do you think one application will last once applied to the baits? And so it's kind of how to tie this into what you were just saying. Norman and I went out, and we had it sprayed into the bag, and I think Norman would you spray it the night before?
Yep.
And let it sit in the bag. And so once we went out fishing, we had Norman or one of us got hit and it destroyed the bait. Just threw it on the deck of the boat because I try to save the plastics. So where I got a buddy that recycles plastics.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go out on my boat for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, because Norman and I were filming and stuff, so we was using his boat. And in the dead of summer, that bait still, once I pulled, because I had my cover over my boat, once I pulled the cover up out of the boat, I could smell, once the fresh air hit into the boat, you could smell it as I was uncovering my boat.
Yeah.
And it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks later.
Yeah. I mean, that literally we've got it down, to a science, and, what it takes to, and actually we're working on a couple things on some crankbaits with some of the different polymers, the different epoxies and, that are applied to crankbaits. And right now we've got a couple things that are actually going to work out really well. I mean, it's just, I don't want to give anything away yet, but yeah, we've got some things in the works, that could really change the crankbait industry. I'm going to say that.
Yeah. And just leaving it at that. I mean, that's intriguing enough just from fishing with the pro line and being able to see the difference that we've seen with using it and without using it, and then now being able to hear that y'all not just thinking of the soft plastics, you're thinking of hard plastics now. Is very intriguing. We've got another question is, what is your top 3 selling bass scents?
Top 3, I got them sitting right here. I knew someone would ask this question because I get asked it all the time. Of course, number 1 would be your night crawler. Number 2 would be the crayfish. And number 3 would be the shad.
Yeah.
So those would be the top 3. But look, I know I'm going to throw this out there too. We offer a bass bundle at www.prolinebaits.com. It's a bundle. For $49.99, you're going to get 9 scent. So you're going to get the bluegill. You're going to get the bluegill, the anise, the crayfish, the herring, the frog, the garlic, night crawler, shad, and coffee bean. Uh, and that's already $8 and some change, $8.30 off. So originally it's like $58 if you buy them all at $6.49.
Right.
So they're $49.99, and then use the code here.
Yeah.
The
That,
the
yeah.
DeckTalk.
DeckTalk 10.
Look, apply that there code, and you're going to be down $45 for 9 bottles of scent. I mean, you're talking $13 savings.
Oh yeah, and I mean the guys and um, which I know like a bunch of the guys because we've got about 480 some odd people on right now, in which a lot of them are from around our area, but even like at the Highland reservoirs that's got that blueback herring uh, in it. That scent right there is money, especially like on Lanier, uh, Altoona, and stuff like that. That is
So
money.
I know there's some guys fishing, and herring are not in every lake,
No,
you know, but there literally are guys using the herring in Maryland, in Tennessee, in Kentucky,
Yeah.
some of your Alabama lakes that don't have, and are absolute destroying
Yeah.
largemouth bass.
Now, just a
Just
side story
because,
too is,
just
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Keith.
just because your lakes or rivers don't have herring in them,
Yeah.
don't mean that bass still won't react to that scent. You know,
Exactly.
and another great pointer, and I just want to throw that out there so I don't forget. Look, don't be afraid to mix and match. You know, I mean, mix a little garlic with nightcrawler, mix some shad and crayfish. Put some anise with no. Sometimes that might get you that big fish bite.
yeah,
Uh, where you might just be catching them pound and a half, 2 pound fish, but you're looking for that 3.5, 4 or 5 pounder.
yeah.
Sometimes the blending those scents together will get you that bigger fish bite. I mean, I can tell you it happens in the carp industry.
Right.
And a little bit of a side
Now,
story, what you just talked about too, is up here in Chickamauga. Of course, I got on Chickamauga and Nickajack, but on Chickamauga in general, I have the heron as well. And
yeah,
of course, there's no heron on Chickamauga, but I use the heron and do really well with the heron scent as well, right out here on Chickamauga. So that kind of goes back to what you said. You could use them anywhere, even if actually you don't have heron in a certain lake. You could use the heron, and it still works really well on other areas that might not have that particular bait in it as
and
well.
Yes.
so do you? Michael Lindell says, do you have a shiner formula?
I would say, our shad is, when I guess, whenever we dive into this and, you know, what's different from a shiner and a shad, what's different from a shiner or a minnow. We offer a minnow in the crappie. Uh, yeah, it don't have a bass label on it. Uh, but it's because crappie fishermen can relate to a minnow.
Right.
Uh, so, you know, so whenever we look at scent, the difference between shiner and shad and minnow, there's not a whole lot of difference. You know, now the difference between shad and herring, I mean, just absolute complete
Opposite.
different amino acids, different uh, fatty. I mean, just complete different. You know, so we kind of look at you know that's like our bluegill. We have had so many people wanted bluegill, bluegill, blue. Well, we took it to the table thinking this was going to be easy. No,
Yeah.
it literally took 1 year and 4 months to literally get a bluegill right, to where it bass responded to it the way we wanted it to. I mean, and I tell you, we have some influencers, and I'm sure y'all know Cupcake Cooley, Jen Fishing, Daniel Fisher. Oh my, famous fisherman, uh, JC Swag, several of these guys, and I'm telling you, they are absolute killing it. With bluegill, nightcrawler,
Yeah.
just
And
about
AC
anything you.
Swag is up. He's in northeast Tennessee and
Yeah,
fishing out of Cherokee. So
yeah. I know. I think JC Swag's up around Boone, North Carolina,
yeah,
somewhere. I think, but yeah, like I said, we got so many people that reach out to us on a weekly basis. Uh, just sending us photos, um, of what they caught, and yeah, I mean that too. That really keeps driving us forward. Is being able to see, the end results.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Now, another question. Uh, does Proline Baits have any kind of dyes?
No, we do not. Uh, we do use food grade dyes, that we do in our carp flavors and we do in our catfish flavors. Uh, but like I said, they're a food grade. And of course, any scent that we make, we don't create. We've not designed anything that would ever harm really anybody. Even your bass, crappie, trout scents. You literally can spray it in your mouth. It's not going to hurt you. Now, every bottle has to have not for human consumption, but no, dyes. Sorry, fellas, get another call.
that's all good. Well, I tell you what, while Keith's doing that, we're gonna take about a
Y'all
40
still
second.
there?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're still here. We're gonna take about a 40-second break real quick. We got to dive into
Okay.
another shout out for another sponsor of ours, and I'm talking about YOLO Tech. You never know when it's going to happen. That fish of a lifetime blows up and just destroys your bait. You'll never miss a moment with YOLO Tech. No change in batteries, no more change in batteries in your camera. Capture every moment, all the time with YOLO Tech. You want to make sure to go to www.yolotech.com. Use that discount code and make sure, don't forget, use that discount code DeckTalk10 at checkout. Again, that's www.yolotech.com. And don't forget, use that discount code DeckTalk10 for instant savings at checkout, guys.
Yeah. So,
Little break there.
I want to talk a little bit. Go back from when you said that you would date Velveeta cheese to do
Yes.
some trout fishing. I've
Yes.
never really. I can't really say that I've done much trout fishing at all. I think I've maybe twice. I've caught trout on accident uh, on the Caney River with my dad one year or one time. But
I
so
got a scent that I created that smells just like Velveeta cheese.
that to me that is just I mean, which I don't know too much about trout fishing, but that was intriguing enough to where I'm like,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
Yeah. Now that
Now,
Yeah.
have you tried using Velveeta cheese for any other kind of fishing?
Oh, look, I know a carp will eat it. Now, I've not tried it for the crappie or the bass or anything. Uh, someone would just have to buy it and want to try it and use it. I can tell you this: there's a bass fisherman in Maryland that is buying my Concord grape and the carp products, and he's catching largemouth bass with them.
Really?
Now,
Yes.
the story about the cheese is kind of, you kind of dived in a little bit with me and Colin on the story behind that as a kid. I used to use I guess it was Velveeta cheese,
Yeah.
blocks of cheese to go carp fishing. How did you kind of figure out the cheese thing with the carp bite? And again, you were a kid back then when you were actually carp fishing with the cheese. So how did you kind of figure that out?
So, I mean, see, see, I didn't, unless I went out and dug my worms, I didn't have any artificial, I couldn't afford rooster tails and, things like that. My parents, I mean, they just didn't have the money to do that.
Right.
And, but like I said, my mama would buy me a block of Velveeta cheese, and that's what I used for trout and to catch them little suckers that swam around in the creeks. And, she would buy me a small pack of hooks. And, of course, I can remember having a fishing pole, but it got tore up,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get a new one every summer. But yeah, I mean, just one of them. And of course, then whenever I got into, the carp industry, and been in it for years and years. And then, in 2018, 17, 18 is when we started, developing, researching, bass scent, crappie scent, catfish scent, and spent several years developing, I mean, we just didn't throw it together. I mean, it took some time because, like I said, we just didn't want to be another scent company. We wanted to be different.
Yeah.
And I think we've been very, very successful doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, the trout series, we got a crappie series, and the trout, so any type of Berkeley power bait, you can apply any of our scents to power baits, any of their little trout magnet, same application. I like to use fake corn. Just little pieces of fake corn, and I'll send them, sweet corn, or I'll send it with the Velveeta cheese or mealworm or garlic anise, and
That's just amazing.
yeah, and we got videos on our TikTok. I think there's some on Instagram, of where I've taken my grandbaby's trout fishing, and we literally, where we're spraying it, and you can put it in and throw it out, and little pieces of brown fake corn or yellow fake corn, soaked in that mealworm, and the trout were just eating it up. And literally, my wife is standing there on the sidewalk with customers, and they're literally going to Proline Baits ordering
Right there.
the products because they're watching it work.
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah. But like I said, we cover it all.
Yeah.
And stay tuned. We are working on our saltwater line. We've been working on it for 2 years, probably a little over 2 years now, and we have 4 or 5 that's probably going to come out after the first of the year. That is going to blow the saltwater wide open.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Yes.
Guarantee it. Now, Norman says that he's a country boy. I'm gonna go off away from power baits real quick.
All right.
But Norman says he's a country boy. I grew up in Nashville, moved to Chattanooga, but I asked him, I said, "Have you ever had squirrel and gravy?" He says no. I told him he's not a country boy.
That's
You
right.
said that you grew up eating venison and squirrel,
Rabbits.
and I told him there's nothing better than squirrel and some gravy.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on it? If you have not had any squirrel and gravy, you're not a country boy, right?
Oh, my grandma made some of the best squirrel gravy. I mean, oh, it makes my mouth water thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it was just, and actually, she got where she would make squirrel pot pie. Like they make chicken pot pie or
Yeah.
ham pot pie. She done. It was it was amazing. I mean, another great memory when I was a kid.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like we know that you're very family oriented, and your business is very family oriented. But with you, as soon as you said that you grew up eating deer or venison and some squirrels, I was like, I've got to ask him if he's ever had. I know he's had. If
Yes,
he's had squirrel, he's had to have it with squirrel
absolutely,
gravy.
I have.
And so, but then just to kind of rag, I like every time I get a chance to kind of rag on Norman, I'm going to rag on him. And so when you brought that up, that was a great opportunity. I was like, because I also asked him, I said, "Have you ever had tomato gravy?" He said, "No." I was like, "You're not country."
Yeah, since we started hanging out with Colin, my skin has grew about a quarter of an inch thicker.
So, but let's see. I got to go through some of these questions. I got like I got to look on my computer, look on my phone, trying because we're on 4 different platforms. So I gotta. That's why you see me kind of looking away. I'm not trying to be rude,
We
but
apologize if we happen to miss questions because sometimes they start coming in so fast they scroll down, and if you miss them, they scroll off the bottom and we can't bring them back up. But while Colin's looking for that, we talked a little bit at the beginning of the show, Keith. Family is very important to you.
Yeah.
And we talked about Proline Baits is a family owned and operated. So you got your some. I think was it your son?
Yes.
I met when I originally met you at the
Yeah.
show as well. So you got your son working with you. So that's probably pretty cool for you to kind of have your family kind of right there by your side, working with you with the product as well. So,
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, Brandon, my son, of course, he has started up a new plumbing business. Uh, but anytime that, Brandon tries to stay engaged as much as he can, and like I was telling y'all earlier, my wife, she just recently retired from BMW 3 weeks ago. So she's here. We're looking at probably doing hiring some full-time employees soon. And uh, looking at, actually, we're looking at building on here, hopefully within the next month or two. Uh, just because we are outgrowing, the facility, and we had purchased property a couple years ago, to build a really, really big building, but because of COVID and it drove all the prices way up, we've just chose not to do that. We've stayed small, and but we're coming to that place where we're going to have to add on. I mean, it's just how much growth we've had. And of course, Bass Pro Shops, I mean, again, the good Lord opened some really great doors, for us, to work with their team. The licensing deal with True Timber Camo. Encourage anybody watching, pop over to True Timber, check their website out. They got some of the best camo. Of course, hunting season's around the corner. So,
yeah,
but
it's
anyway,
actually started here this last week here in Tennessee. Well, dove season did.
yeah,
And so
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, dang, I lost my train of thought. But
sorry, I'm sorry.
but no, Bass
That
Pro
was
Shops, we want to thank them for the opportunity, to be in there. I think we're at 34 SKUs, I think, now on Bass Pro Shops.
awesome.
Uh, now it's a combination between all the carp, the catfish, the bass, the crappie, and the trout. That covers 5 species.
Yeah,
So also Tackle Warehouse, another online retailer. Uh, they carry the bass products, and I think we're going to hopefully be adding crappie there by next spring. So and numerous retailers throughout the United States, from East Coast to West Coast, from Florida all the way to Maine. Just mom and pop shops that carry our products.
Right.
And
Now,
if there's anyone watching out there that may have a mom and pop shop and you're interested, look, reach out to us, send us an email.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
what I was about to ask you. Is like, how can
Colin
people
and I
find?
has talked to a few of our local shops here that we're still working on getting the product in. So hopefully we can make that happen here pretty soon. And if
and
anybody,
look, no order's too small. I mean, we, every bottle, we can sell. That's another sale.
Yeah.
do
So
you?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, for your like your mom and pop shops, you offer a counter display as well, right? Which kind of a little bit easier, almost
well,
display.
we we were going to do a counter display, and we had all we'd put some time and work into the designing, and then whenever we sent it off, and of course it ended up, because of COVID and everything, uh, you know, and it was hard to get cardboard, and we
Right.
had run into several, and then their minimum order was like 15,000 pieces, and I mean, it was such a large investment for we would have had to sit on it so long.
Yeah.
Right.
Before you.
So I mean, we really need to grow there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, most retailers, they just find a spot, in their store, because I mean, it don't take up a lot of room unless you're in. I mean, if you get into the carp stuff now, it really, really, can take up a lot of room. That's like these shelves sitting in here are probably 40 foot long. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high, 6 high, and there's literally thousands and thousands of bottles. But these shelves are 40 foot long, and they're just stacked with nothing but carp stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, So I mean, yeah, the carp stuff can take up a lot of room, but your bass and crappie and trout or your catfish, it don't take up a whole lot of room.
Exactly.
Now, how can people follow you on social media to kind of find out what you have coming out that's new, or even find out exactly what all you've got? How can people find you on social media?
So of course we do Facebook, Proline Baits. Uh, so head on over to Facebook. You can follow Proline Baits there. We try to post on a regular basis. Also Instagram, Proline Baits, and Instagram. TikTok, we also have Proline. Everything is at Proline Baits pretty much everywhere you go. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. So yeah, we're there,
Okay.
and just you know, and we don't, and that's like I give out that little teaser about the saltwater, but nothing. We haven't posted a lot of stuff. Just we got a lot of content, but we're waiting until we release the product.
Yeah.
And give us the website where people could go on and find the product one more time.
Okay, so of course, just go to www.prolinebaits. Make sure you put baits, BAITS.com. Uh, our website's real easy. You literally can go in, scroll down the page, and pick what species. There's a bass, says shop now. There's a crappie, says shop now. Carp, shop now. Catfish, shop now. So just, it's real easy.
Yeah.
Real
Well,
easy
that
to
was one thing
navigate.
that I was wanting to say also about the website is that how easy it is to be able to find what you're wanting to find. I mean,
Yeah.
you really just
Very user
go, like what
friendly.
you're saying, just go straight to whatever species you're wanting to go after or get the scent from, then it's just right there.
Yeah.
So on like the bundle that you're talking that you had said earlier, like let's say we got somebody that wants to do like a bass, can they bundle like the bass along with some like crappie stuff with that?
So the bass is the only thing that we offer that in. You
Okay.
know, just because we only offer 5 crappie scent, we only offer five in the, in the 5 in trout, 5 in crappie. So yeah, those are. So the bass is really,
Yeah.
and I tell you, it has become very, very popular. We sell a lot of, especially first time customers. You know, because some of them are unsure what they want to buy, so they'll buy the bundle and you know and go through and find out which ones you like the best. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
And that's
then
one thing like we done. Uh, Norman and I just playing around with the sense that he has uh, when he first got them, and after using them, I had to go. Which I went. I just went to Bass Pro because I'm in there all the time, just seeing what they got on sale. And as soon as I seen them in Bass Pro, I hollered at Norman, and be like, "I can't! But their Pro Line Baits is in Bass Pro." And
yeah,
so, but that's where I got mine. But I mean, if I would go to the website and get that bundle and then throw that DeckTalk 10 discount code on top of it
yeah,
and
yeah,
really get, I mean, you
yeah,
get the best bang for the buck and like this, you don't have to use so much or you don't have to use a lot of it to be able to get done with the job that you're wanting to get done. Just spray two or three in the times in the bag and just let it marinate for
And
you,
that's
yeah,
one of the
kind of.
biggest things that really impressed me is just what Colin said. It does not take a lot, so it's going to go a lot further than any other. I've used them all. I've used all of them out there prior to starting to use the Pro line. And the Pro line baits, you don't have to use a lot. It goes a long way. Um, and you get better bang for your buck because you're not going through it near as frequently as you're going to go through a lot of the other companies out there because it stays with the bait so much longer. So yeah, it's just going to last so much longer as well. So you get better bang for your buck because
Yeah.
of what you're using or
yeah.
what you're not having to use, depending on how you look at it.
Look, and there are some guys, they like to just spray their individual worm, and they may spray it 3 or 4 different times throughout the time that they're using it.
Yeah.
Famous fisherman, one of the content creators, he loves to spray, and he just and you literally he can be fishing and not catching nothing and spray in the very next cast.
Yeah, and that's the
Wait.
other
You know,
thing, just like we're talking about with the, and there's another company that I used to use almost religiously that I don't use anymore since I'm using Proline, but every second, every other cast, you actually had to spray it or to lose it. But and again, there's a lot of people that really want to spray it because they want to make sure that it still has that scent on there so the fish could smell it or sense it or whatever. But if you take and spray, even if you spray the bait individually, uh, you only have to spray it maybe once every. If it was me, I'll spray it once every half an hour, 45 minutes, and it still if you're still using the same bait, and it still has that same scent, doesn't lose it, where the other one you're having to spray it every other cast, or in some cases every cast, because as soon as, and like you're saying with the oils, when it hits the water it instantly loses it, where
yes,
the Pro line doesn't do that because of the way it's designed, the way it's formulated, it sticks with the bait. So even if you're spraying the baits individually, you still have a lot longer between having to spray it, and it still holds that scent, and it still works.
and
So
I can remember a company, that had come out with an oil-based scent. And look, I really liked them. I used them. I used some of them in the carp fishing industry, and and plus it helped me get to thinking, turning wheels and and creating scent. But one thing I noticed with the oil base stuff is after 6, 7 months, that bottle, it just, I mean, there were several different species or different scent, uh, eel and goby and shad and all. It's like they all, after 6, 7, 8 months, they all just smelt the same.
Yeah.
It's they lost that initial smell that you got. Now they didn't separate.
Mm-mm.
It's just that they just lost their scent. I mean, it was just completely gone.
Yeah.
So
And the other thing too is some of the ones I've used in the past, and I still have a couple of them out there I can't use anymore that I used to use like 6, 7 years ago. But if they come in a metal spray can, and if you leave them in your boat for 5, 6 months at a time as you're using them, you still have half a can left. I've noticed that a lot of the other cans, when they're made out of metal, the aerosol stops. It
yeah,
breaks and stops.
yeah,
Where I haven't seen that happen with yours because of the way your bottles are designed, the way your spray is designed. It's not the same as if it was a metal can where it gets seized up.
yeah.
And I have two cans out there now that you can't use anymore. And of course, they're 7, 8 years old, but they stopped working after 6 months. They're half full. Now, I don't know why I haven't thrown them out, but I guess I had a pack rat, I guess, but I still have them out there. You can't use them anymore. But they seized up after about 6 months rolling around the bottom of the boat deck.
So
I literally have some carp scent sitting in here that I created. Some of the first ones I ever done, probably back in 2014, 13, and they still smell today,
like what?
just like when I poured them back then.
Man.
I mean, that's just,
Well, I mean, I've had the ones that I got from Bass Pro right at a year, and Norman's had what 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago actually from
My,
East
my,
Tennessee.
Mine is from 3.5 years ago. I got mine the first time I met Keith in
Yeah,
Proline when I was there. That's actually before me and you met, actually.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, it'll be 3 years probably this March.
yeah,
And that just goes to show too how uh, unfrequently you really need to use it because it just stays. The bottles I have, of course, I got two of each scent, but I'm still using from 3.5 years ago, and I use it religiously almost every time out. And I don't use it directly on the boat and spray the baits, but I make sure my bag stays scented with it. I'll spray about once every. When I get a new bag of baits, instantly I spray the bag of baits. So I've been using it over the past 3.5 years since I first got the product. I still have almost half a bottle of each, and I use it religiously for the past 3.5 years. So that goes to show you how much bang you get for your buck and how it lasts. Where, if it was one of the other cans where you have to spray a lot more frequently, you'd probably the time I've had the Pro line for 3.5 years, I'd already been through about 15 or 16, 20 cans of the other product.
yeah.
Yes.
So well, we've had you on about an hour and 15 minutes. We don't want to hold you up too much longer. Um, But with that being said, we do have a question for you that we ask every guest that comes on. And so the question is if you could have anybody on your boat for one day fishing, could be living or have passed, who would it be and why would you want them on your boat?
Uh, I would have to say my Uncle Ray. And my Uncle Ray, he passed away with cancer. Cancer has plagued a lot of my family members. My father, uncles, grandmother. But anyway, my Uncle Ray, he kind of took me under his wing. As a young kid, and I can remember, me and him going trout fishing, and him taking me catfishing for the first time, and took me gigging, for the first time, uh, and And my uncle Ray passed away probably. Well, and I'll share this. I kind of went down a really, really rough road, uh, you know, into my late teenage, early 20s, and just one of them, drug and alcohol addiction, and kind of hurt several of my family members, and was told that I would never amount to anything.
Yeah.
And if my Uncle Ray could come back today and see where I've come from,
Be proud of you.
I sure would hope so. But I would
Well, that
love to
also
spend.
goes back to the first statement that you said uh, about when we were introducing you, and you gave credit to the good Lord,
Yes,
and the good Lord knew. I mean, as long as there's breath in your body, there's a mission for you to get done.
yes,
Is how I look at it, and so you're able to use what you went through to be able to witness to other people and be like, look, this is what I went through. This is where I'm at now. I've got a
yeah,
successful business, and that speaks highly of yourself to be able to put your nose down and grind and be able to get to as far as what you've done and what you're going to get. I mean,
yeah,
Proline Bait's just not stuck right there where it's at. I mean, you're looking into the future, just like what you said with the crankbaits, the salt water and stuff. I
yeah,
mean, you're looking to expand. You're gonna looking to get full time employees coming in, and we're proud of you, man. Just from, I mean, not even knowing what your past was, just to kind of see over the past 2.5, 3 years that we've known you and known the company, to see where you've come in that time frame. We we're proud of to have you as a friend and to let you know
absolutely.
uh, we definitely and that's one reason why we wanted to have you on is because we want to not bashing Bass Pro by any means or nothing like that. We like helping out and being able to showcase small businesses because Bass Pro and Academy and stuff, in which I know you've got stuff in Bass Pro and Cabela's and stuff, but they kind of took away really like when we were growing up and what a local bait shop they destroyed a local bait shop in that aspect because they can sell baits cheaper than what they can so with that being said, we wanted to have you on to kind of showcase you to all of our audience uh, and to let people know if they haven't heard about you, we want
Yeah,
people to know. And and you, we've been talking to you, and you got us a discount code and stuff like that. So, guys, that's if you use Sense, even if you just try it out, order a bottle, go
oh
to
yeah, just try it.
yeah,
Yeah.
If
and that,
you, if I mean Norman, you guys y'all were set up there. It, Literally, when we go to these shows, and guys, when they come up and they stick their nose in that bag of them worms scented, it's hook, line, sinker. I mean, it, it it's it's the
it's
real
amazing.
deal.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah, and and it's one of those things too. And I'm going to say this is, we're not made. Our products aren't made in China.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, I mean, everything's done here in the U.S. All of our ingredients are sourced here in the U.S. So yeah, I mean, it's one of them. We don't bring anything in from China.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So, but guys, we've been here an hour and 20 minutes.
Awesome.
And we could probably
So
go another 3 hours if we wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
I mean,
and
because this is,
There's one thing we always say is we love talking fishing. We love talking about products out in the water in the industry that we use, but we just love talking fishing, and 5 minutes before you know it turns into about 2 hours, because we
yeah,
love talking some fishing
yeah,
so much. So, but yeah,
yeah,
we could go on for hours if we wanted to. But man, it's been a pleasure, Keith.
yeah.
absolutely.
Really enjoyed
And
talking to you, brother,
and
and
Keith,
Thank
once
y'all
we
for
get
having me
done,
on. And any questions, anybody, if there, anybody out there
yeah,
needs it, look, send us an email, shoot us a message on, Facebook, whatever, check us out, www.prolinebaits.com, you know, and Norman, Colin, absolute top notch guys,
we appreciate.
absolute enjoyed myself. And, keep me in mind for next year. Let's,
Oh yeah,
let's recap next year and see where Proline Baits
yeah.
is.
oh, we're definitely
Most definitely doing
excuse me. But once we get off here, Keith, if you'll hang on for a few minutes,
Okay.
um, so. Uh, but guys, we definitely appreciate you. We actually ended up having looks like over 900 viewers on this live.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so guys, do us a favor. Go to their social media, blow their social media up. Let's see their numbers go up. I mean, just follow them, subscribe to their, and like all their stuff. I mean, because it's especially when the new products coming out. Just follow what they're doing. It is. I mean, it's exciting to watch, especially what y'all have done here the past 2.5, 3 years that we've known you. So, guys, make sure you go to their Facebook, Instagram, and follow them. Hit that like button and stay on top of what the new scents that they're coming out with, because they've got some stuff. He kind of leaked a little bit of what they've got coming out, and I'm excited definitely about the crankbaits. Uh,
yeah.
but guys, we're going to get off here. Fat Boy is hungry, and
Skinny boy's hungry too.
so that is our key to to start wrapping things up, guys. But
Yeah,
we definitely appreciate you coming on. Make sure you go hit that subscribe button on YouTube at DeckTalk Podcast, and also Pro Line Baits at Instagram and Facebook.
yeah.
So, guys, hope to see you out on the water.
Live the passion.